just to compare and contrast the level of performance that Celtic put in tonight versus that of Rangers. And I thought that Celtic win was all about desire. It was all about players fighting for each other. It was, and yes, I get it. There is obviously the technical and tactical part of it all. But I think sometimes, Tam, am I wrong in thinking it does come down to how badly you want it, how much you're prepared to put in? The depth of your desire to go the extra mile, to dig it out when maybe things are in danger of going against you. I just see the difference between Celtic and Rangers tonight was night and day.
Yeah, I think you've seen a Celtic team that was united. They all, ran their hearts out, in terms of shutting up spaces, closing people down. And you're right, sometimes it is heart and character. And to win games away from home in Europe for Celtic and Rangers, you need 10 or 11 players working their backside off. You need 10 or 11 players playing well. And Celtic had that. Just going to the Hatate. That's the best I've seen Hatate in months. He was like a Stan Petrov. I think Martin O'Neill had maybe shown him a wee DVD this morning of Stan Petrov in the early 2000s for Celtic. Bursting into the box. You had that. You had Engels and McGregor sitting behind it with McCown in there as well. So I think that was a masterstroke. A lot of people would have been looking at that and going, "Look, McCown playing right wing. What's he doing there?" But I think he was doing that not only to solidify the midfield, but to protect the young fullback as well, Colby Donovan, who you rightly said had an excellent game, really, really good. But I think McCown was in there just to protect him as well and give him some cover and provide Celtic a wee bit of solidity in the middle of the park. But no, overall, I just thought Celtic wanted it more. They wanted to win the game. You could tell from 5-10 minutes in, shutting people down. Dies and Maida was buzzing about. Yang was buzzing about. Martin O'Neill and the staff had really got into players, I think, and said, "Listen, we need everyone tonight, subs as well. We need everybody to put a shift in if we're going to get a result." They were murdered in Midgetland, let's be honest. And I think they've learned a lesson from that, to go away from home and try and be open and play with two wingers. Celtic are not good enough at the minute to play that way. They've got to dig in, they've got to be solid, and they've got to play. They've got to do teams on the counter, and they've done that perfectly tonight. So I think, look at that Celtic performance. As a Celtic supporter, you'd be surprised by it, by the performance they put in 4 or 5 days ago in Paisley. You didn't see that coming, but Martin O'Neill leaves in a real high into that. And you're talking about the turning point for Celtic being tonight. I think it was at the weekend against St Mirren. I think that last minute goal has really kicked Celtic on again tonight and put that level of performance in it again tonight.
I tell you what, he's going to be a hard act to follow, isn't he, Martin O'Neill? Given the difference that he's made, he's stabilised Celtic. He's got them into a cup final by beating Rangers. He's cut the gap at the top of the table to Hearts, and now he's put them back in the mix for a really realistic chance to qualify. If you're Wilfred Nancy coming into this, you're thinking, "Geez, any chance of these up, Olgin?"
Yeah, I think Martin's come in and and as Mick had said there, Celtic were really fractured as a club. On and off the pitch, there was a lot going on. They needed somebody like Martin O'Neill to come in. The statement about Brendan Rodgers, Celtic were playing poorly, Hearts were miles ahead in the league in the title race, and Martin O'Neill's just came in and quietly got about his business. He's quietly went about, closing the gap to Hearts, as you say, getting to a cup final, and then producing one of the best Celtic performances in Europe away from home in a long time. So, yeah, you're right. Wilfred Nancy's coming in and he's got a hard act to follow. Martin O'Neill, will he just sail into the sunset now? Will there be a role for him at Celtic? That remains to be seen, to be honest with you. But listen, he's definitely cemented his legendary status in the eyes of the Celtic fans by coming in at a real tough time for Celtic and keeping the club, in all the competitions, really.
Funnily enough, there's Mark, a regular. Keith, do you think Martin O'Neill would be tempted by director of football at Celtic? Yes, I do, Mark. And maybe even something bigger and better than that. I can't see Martin O'Neill just riding off into the sunset, as you said, Tam. I think there's something in this for him. I think he's rediscovered his passion for it, if it ever went away. But I think he's where he wants to be. I think there should be a role, and very possibly will be a role for Martin O'Neill, whether it's director of football or something, as I said, bigger and better. It wouldn't surprise me. I've heard rumours about potentially taking over as chairman at some point. I think there's something in it for him. I mean, I think it'd actually be a bit of a waste for Celtic to let him just walk away now.
Yeah, listen, I think that Martin O'Neill's a shrewd cookie. You know, he's obviously a very experienced man, very experienced manager, and he's got a lot to offer. Not just on the park, as he's shown still for Celtic. You know, at the age of 73, 74 years old, he's still got that passion. You can see it. He still knows the game. He still knows how to get results at a club like Celtic. And you're right, it would be a bit of a waste, I think, just to let him go out the door. And, you know, Wilfred Nancy's coming in with staff that don't really know Scottish football. So just to have him as a sounding board upstairs, you know, and just to go and chat to him about Scottish football when times are tough, you know, and that could possibly be the role for Martin O'Neill. Maybe fancy another job as a manager. You know, he's been doing obviously the punditry and the media stuff, and he's probably been enjoying that. But he's got that sparkle back in his eye. You can see that he's got that passion back for football, even at his age.
I'm not
So
sure
he
we
might
ever lost
fancy,
it,
even if it's not at Celtic, he might fancy, you know, maybe going and managing somewhere else.